strange but fun traditions. I was thrown in the river in my whole uniform by the people who taught me to fly, along with two of my best friends on course to celebrate and share our accomplishments together. Then, on our way home on the bus, we sang our solo songs to the whole crew, which turned into a music jam session, and this was the best way to end such an amazing day. My solo flight was my first checkpoint on my journey that summer. I still had to pass my Transport Canada written exam and my flight test, but for one reason or another, that did not matter. I was ecstatic. My flying instructors have inspired me to potentially attend the glider pilot instructor's course, so I can give back to the air cadet and flying communities who have offered me so much more than I could have ever imagined, and so I can teach others the joy of flying. Just imagine coaching your first cadet through 25 air lessons and then setting them free. What a feeling of pride that must invoke. And I cannot wait to personally throw my cadets in the same river I once swam in one day. So many memories will be shared, reliving the summer of 2015 and carrying on traditions. I hope to be a part of someone else's most memorable day of their life. Thank you for listening. Well, they taught us a procedure, which was to gasp, which isn't actually like, but it's an emergency procedure which entails checking all of your surroundings, making sure you're in a good position so that if you lose 100 feet or 200 feet because you don't have an engine to just gain altitude again, so you need to make sure that you're in a good position, but like by the airfield so that you can get back in land in case you lose a lot of altitude. But they trained us to kind of let the stall go and then pull back up and gain as much altitude as we could from our fall. So that was my first reaction because they really drilled it into our heads, all of our emergency procedures. Thank you.
I'm going to break the rules right here. Sergeant of Arms, you're allowed to undo the door for 1 minute so those people can get in, please. They're all in now. Perfect. Thank you very much. I guess I was a little over anxious here and started without all of our lions here, but I'm glad you're here now. When you went in the glider, you actually had to go like down? Like down? Oh. Oh. And you have no wings. They don't move. Okay. I'm very happy for you. I know I won't be doing that, but I'm very proud that you do that. How are we doing, judges? We're done? Wow. We'll keep you. Speaker number 2.
The people are angry. The American people are angry at their parties for failing to make change. They are frustrated with the infinite broken promises given to them by politicians, and they are tired of politics in general. That has led to an interesting phenomenon of the anti-politician, or the political outsider gaining power in politics, in government. I'd like to talk to you today about, number one, the history of this phenomenon, and then what are the benefits and consequences of it. So this is by no means something new. Politicians for years have branded themselves as anti-politicians, or the average Joe. Going back to Abraham Lincoln, who painted himself as a rail splitter, even though he never split a rail in his life. Bill Clinton painted himself as an outsider, somebody who is not traditionally a politician. In Canada, we already went through this situation. Many of you remember Stephen Harper, when he first tried to get elected, painted himself as this Western outsider out to take down the Eastern establishment. This is what we have seen happening for years, for centuries. But now it has come to a boiling point. The two main political parties in the United States both have strong candidates who are political outsiders, Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. Bernie Sanders, although he is fairly moderate, could be considered an outsider. He sits as an independent in the Senate and only caucuses with the Democratic Party. He attacks many of the policies given by the Democratic Party, criticizes Barack Obama, and doesn't vote along party lines. Donald Trump, well, he isn't a politician. He's never held an elected seat in his life. He's never actually been a politician before now. What does that mean? It means that these people do not, number one, have the political experience that many of their opponents do, but also it means that the people see them as different. When people are angry at politicians, who do they look to? They look to somebody who is not a traditional politician. They look to somebody who has not voted and not failed to make change, somebody new. People are less likely to vote for a senator who has already voted in policies that they do not like, as opposed to somebody who has never made those mistakes in their life. Now, you could also argue that these two are only gaining power because of the extremism of their policies, Bernie Sanders on the left and Donald Trump on the right. But I would argue that it is something different. I would tell you today that these people are gaining power because the people are ready for change. The people are ready for politicians to start listening to them, and they are so extremely frustrated that they are ready to go to the extremists. They are ready to go to the people who are not traditional politicians, people who have not been in government for long, people who have not been governing their country. So, what has that given us? Well, I tell you there are so many, number one, consequences to that, so many negative things. Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump have led to the members of their own party going to the extremes as well. Donald Trump brings the conservatives further right to try to gain their base, and Bernie Sanders brings the Democrats further left to try to appeal to their base. I would tell you that this is not a good thing. I would tell you that having moderate politicians, somebody who is able to govern the majority of the population, not just the 40% of the people who are part of their party, is the best thing to have in America. But also, it leads to a division not only of political parties, but of the country in general. We have seen in this election campaign violent protests. We watched them on the news last night. We have heard the most racist, the most homophobic comments coming out of politicians that we ever have. We have heard generally the most extreme things ever in an American election. I would tell you today that this is one of the main consequences of political outsiders gaining power. But who is to blame for that? I would tell you that the politicians who have failed for years, who have failed to deliver on their promises and to make change, are really the people who are to blame today. If they had been able to fulfill their promises, if they had accurately represented the people, we would not be in this situation. The people would not be looking to the extremes to find their leader. They would not be going outside of the political bubble. They would be voting for people who they know can make change because they have proven themselves over and over again. Unfortunately, there is no such candidate. There are also benefits to having this in place, to having outsiders gain power. I would tell you that it leads, number one, to large discussion on a lot of political issues. There's never been as much interest in politics as there is right now. People fascinated by how Donald Trump or Bernie Sanders are even a factor in an election. People are interested, people are discussing it. Not always in the most appropriate manner, but they are discussing it. When we can get people interested in politics, this decreases voter apathy. I would tell you in a democracy, it is important to have people voting, have people interested in politics, and that's exactly what we're gaining today. Also, I would tell you that it makes traditional politicians scared. The best way to move politicians to action is to threaten them with not being reelected, and that's exactly what they are facing today. These political outsiders are gaining the power to make political parties listen, to make politicians listen to the people. And I would tell you today that that is the biggest benefit we get from political outsiders. The establishment is dead. Long live the outsider.
Thank you very much, speaker number 2. I enjoyed your presentation, and I especially enjoyed your closing. So to that point, I would appreciate your response to the simple question of what can the established politicians do to essentially recover from the rise of the political outsider?
Sure. I would tell you today that they need to really look at the root cause of why these people have gained power. Like I talked about, the people are angry at politicians. They're angry about broken promises. If the political parties really want to regain their power in government, what they need to do is start listening to the people. They need to stop breaking their promises and start putting in policies which will help the entire country, not just their base, and stop ignoring what people have been asking for years. And I think if they are able to do that, they will be able to regain their power.
Thank you, speaker number 2. Wouldn't it be wonderful if they actually listened to us? Whoa, what a country! Aren't we lucky to be in this beautiful place on this beautiful day? The gods are with us. We have beautiful sun, and we have 3 wonderful judges. Are you done? Holy cow! Thank you. Speaker number 3. Y'all come back now, you hear?
Good morning, everyone. I would just like to start us off today by saying I would like some audience participation. So every time I say challenge, I want everyone in the audience to say strength. So let's practice. Challenge. Strength. Challenge. Strength. Challenges. Strengths. Perfect. So I'm going to start us off by saying everyone in this room has or probably will go through something that will change their life in a way that they can't go back to the person they once were. My question to everyone here is that really such a bad thing? Sure, bad things happen in our lives, but 90% of the time they're going to toss us on the path that we need to be on. Now, since we all have lives, life tends to not gently toss us on this path, it kind of throws us face first so we land in the dirt on this path. It's going to change us, maybe throw us in a 360-degree rotation and turn us into the direction that we need to follow. So I'm going to start by telling you a story. Branches grasped at the windshield. The sound of crunching metal and broken glass filled the air. You could smell the fear in the vehicle. You could see dirt flying, rubber burning, and trees breaking over a 25-foot bank, landing on an electric fence. The 3 students sat in the car for a matter of seconds. Everything was still. It felt almost like an eternity. Then, everything began to move at lightning speed. One, the leader, female, decided to start barking off orders, saying, "You need to open the doors, you need to take off your seatbelt, make sure the car's not on fire, you need to get away right now." She ordered the 2 boys across 2 streams and forced them to climb over 2 fences. The adrenaline was pumping through their bloodstream. She decided to call 911 and made the boys sit on the side of the road and not move until the ambulances arrived. They then were rushed off to the hospital. Quite the story, isn't it? The character portrayed as the bossy leader, you might have guessed it. Yep, that's me. I can remember it so well. The scene plays like a movie on a projection screen in my head over and over and over. But I want you all to know I'm not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. People said we're lucky to be alive, and they're absolutely right. So what I'm really going to talk to you today is not about a car accident, it's about resiliency. Many of you may know what resiliency is, many of you may not. So I'm going to tell you. Resiliency is the ability to bounce back after something life-altering has happened. It's where you can take challenges, strength, from your past and use them to face your future. Once the storm is over, you'll never realize if it is really over or how you even entered the storm. But one thing is for certain, that you won't be the person you were when you actually did enter the storm. This quote really hits home for me because it tells me, yeah, life's hard, and I need to suck it up or face the challenges. Right. Perfect. And use them to learn for my future. Most people don't realize that to have strength, you have to have a lot of struggle, just like you can't have light without darkness. Having resiliency skills minimizes the negative and stressful effects on teens, youth, and even adults. So I'm going to share with you 5 skills that you need or may have to be a resilient person. Number 1, emotional awareness and self-regulation. Resilient people are extremely comfortable with talking about their emotions and how they feel. They can express these emotions easily, so if they don't like something, they're going to tell you. Even if you don't like it, you need to hear it. They have the ability to identify and control these emotional experiences. So, like I said, if they don't like something, they're going to change what they're doing so you know to make it a more comfortable environment. These feelings that these people have don't prevent them from succeeding later in life. Number 2, impulse control. I am very sure that many of you wanted to lash out at someone, maybe punch them in the face so they'd stop talking, possibly. But resilient people are able to control these emotions, and they know what battles to fight and when to run away from them. Number 3 is my favorite, it's optimism. Optimism is like a safety blanket of bubble wrap that protects you from depression and anxiety. These people have a positive focus, and they tend to be more engaged in life. They can see the highs and the lows of a situation. They're able to solve problems with great ease, and they know how to react when a problem does arise. Number 4, flexibility and accurate thinking. People who are flexible and can think accurately can see the different perspectives in life, like I said, just like optimism. They have many reasons as to why they're successful, and they can pick out how other people have become successful. They don't only have plan A, B, and C, but they have plans D through Z as well. These people are able to use self-talk. So I want everyone in here to think of a situation that may have given them a challenge. So were these thoughts positive or negative? Did you think, hey, you know what? I can get through this. Or no, maybe I should stay in bed today. I don't think I'm going to face these challenges that are going to arise. If you thought positively, that could mean you are a resilient person. Number 5, last but not least, empathy. Empathy is closely associated with pity. These two things aren't alike at all. Pity usually is referred to